Hey everyone, I'm on the road this week in New York City, so I thought we'd do a little history on the road by taking a look at one of the great American icons, the Brooklyn Bridge. All right, let's go check it out. The Brooklyn Bridge took 14 years to complete. It was built between 1869 and 1883, and it joined the nation's largest city, New York, with the nation's third largest city, Brooklyn. And what made it special was it's the world's first large-scale suspension bridge. Basically 2 stone towers and 4 huge cables draped over them that then hold up the roadbed. The Brooklyn Bridge is a stunning example of the thing that transformed Gilded Age America, steel. For all of human history leading up to this point, we equated strength with mass. So pyramids, forts, castles, walls, they were thick and heavy. But steel allowed the bridge's designer, German immigrant John A. Roebling, to create the strongest man-made object in the world that appeared to have almost no mass at all. In fact, some people said it looked like a giant harp. Another thing to note about the Brooklyn Bridge is that it wasn't just functional, it was also beautiful. John Roebling put these Gothic archways in the stone towers to evoke a sense of the past, the ancient cathedrals of Europe. Roebling also insisted that the bridge have a beautiful pedestrian walkway for commuters and also for people just trying to get some air during the hot summer months. Several dozen men died in the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, most of them underneath where I'm standing right now, under these great towers. In order to provide a footing for these towers, men had to go into basically a large box called a caisson, which was then sunk down to the river bed, and then they excavated down to the bedrock that was below the river. And while they were down there, they experienced tremendous pressure. It caused nitrogen to build up in their bloodstream, so that when they came up, they were stricken with seizures and many other ailments. Deep sea divers called this getting the bends. For a lot of men, it was fatal. The most famous fatality associated with the bridge was its designer, John A. Roebling. He suffered a shattered leg at the outset of the construction and developed a fatal infection. His son, Washington Roebling, took over the project, and a few years later, he nearly died of the aforementioned nitrogen poisoning, basically spending too much time under the East River observing the construction of the foundations. Washington Roebling was left paralyzed and bedridden, but he stayed on as the project's chief engineer because of his remarkable wife, Emily Warren Roebling. She became his on-site construction manager. Every day she traveled back and forth from the project, delivering his instructions and bringing back updates and information. It's not an exaggeration to say that Emily Warren Roebling played a critical role in the making of the Great Brooklyn Bridge. When the Brooklyn Bridge was finally completed, it opened on May 24th, 1883, and New York City held a huge multi-day celebration with fireworks and parades, great speeches. President Chester A. Arthur was here. Governor Grover Cleveland was here. Lots of other dignitaries. It was one of the great events of the Gilded Age. Ever since its opening, the Brooklyn Bridge has moved hundreds of millions of passengers across the East River. But it's also inspired songs and poems and been featured in countless movies and TV shows. This explains why the Brooklyn Bridge attracts countless tourists every year, who walk it and learn its history and take in its spectacular views of the city. As you can see, the views of Lower Manhattan, the East River, and New York Harbor are amazing. Well, I hope you liked this little bit of history on the road, checking out the iconic Brooklyn Bridge. If so, please like this video and also follow to keep up on all things history here at In the Fast Lane. Thanks.